Why demons preferred pigs over anything else. Jesus beat Satan's tricks in the desert, as told in Matthew chapter 4, verses 1 to 11. After that, he showed his power over demons and sickness. In Matthew chapter 8, verses 28 to 34, without his disciples being mentioned, Jesus meets two very scary men controlled by demons. They lived near the tombs and were so dangerous that people avoided that area. These men, recognizing Jesus as the Son of God, asked him if he was there to punish them before it was time. Nearby, there was a big group of pigs eating. The demons asked Jesus if, instead of just expelling them, he could send them into the pigs. Jesus simply said, "Go." So the demons left the men and went into the pigs, causing the pigs to run off a cliff into the water and drown. The people taking care of the pigs were so shocked that they ran to the town to tell everyone what happened, including the story of the men who were freed from the demons. When the townspeople met Jesus, they were so frightened by his power that they asked him to leave. Matthew uses this story to make us think, who is this man who even controls demons? This happened in the Gerasenes, part of the Decapolis. By the way, pigs are animals that Jews and Muslim Arabs usually don't eat. This event is also mentioned in Mark chapter 5, verses 1 to 20, and Luke chapter 8, verses 26 to 39, showing it was a significant moment showing Jesus' authority over evil. In Mark chapter 5, verses 1 to 20, Jesus and his followers land on the other side of the sea in the Gerasenes area. They meet a man who was not in control of himself because a bad spirit was in him. This man made his home among the graves and was so strong that even chains couldn't hold him down. He spent his days and nights screaming and hurting himself with stones. Seeing Jesus, the man ran up and kneeled before him, yelling, "Jesus, Son of the Most High, please don't make me suffer." Jesus had already told the bad spirit to leave the man. Then Jesus asked him his name, and he said, "Legion," because there were many of them inside him. The bad spirits didn't want to leave the area, so they spotted a big group of pigs eating nearby. They begged Jesus to let them go into the pigs, and Jesus allowed it. Then, all the spirits left the man and went into the pigs, and the whole group of pigs, about 2,000, ran off a cliff into the water and drowned. The people taking care of the pigs ran to tell everyone in town and the countryside what had happened. When the townsfolk came to Jesus, they saw the man who used to be full of demons sitting there, all calm and normal, and they got really scared. Everyone who saw it happen explained how the man got better and what happened to the pigs. Then, the people asked Jesus to leave their area. As Jesus was about to leave by boat, the man who was healed begged to go with him. But Jesus said, "Go home to your friends and tell them what great things the Lord has done for you and how he has had compassion on you." So the man went all over the place, telling everyone in the Decapolis how much Jesus helped him. And everyone who heard it was totally amazed. Big groups of people from all over, like Galilee, the Decapolis, Jerusalem, Judea, and the area across the Jordan, were following Jesus. They encountered a scary situation with two very aggressive men that nobody dared to go near. These men were well known and made everyone afraid. Just like the devil recognized Jesus as God's son in Matthew chapter 4, verses 3 to 6, these demons also knew right away who Jesus was. Over time, Jesus' closest followers would come to see him as truly special, God's own son, as mentioned in different parts of Matthew. Even though the demons called him Son of God, it wasn't a sign of respect, but rather an admission that Jesus had power even over the spiritual world they came from. While the demons knew who Jesus was, their knowledge didn't change them for the better. Knowing Jesus but still opposing him is the very nature of evil. When the demons talked to Jesus, their words could sound different depending on the situation. In Mark 1:24, their tone is full of hate and fear. Calling Jesus the Holy One of God means they saw him not just as powerful, but as the Messiah, God's Son. They also realized Jesus would be the judge who decides their fate, asking him if he came to punish them before the official time for their judgment. This encounter shows Jesus was starting to challenge Satan's control, marking the beginning of God's kingdom coming closer. The demons knew there is a specific time planned for their judgment. They asked Jesus, "What do you want with us, Son of God? Have you come here to torment us before the time?" This shows they knew Jesus' arrival meant big changes were coming, including a threat to their own existence and the places they had control over. Even though Jesus will come back one day to judge everyone, as talked about in Matthew, the demons still asked him if they could go into a bunch of pigs instead. Jesus said yes. Once they went into the pigs ran off a cliff into the Sea of Galilee and drowned. This move by the demons to save themselves only ended up ruining their temporary animal hosts. Jesus agreed to their request for a few reasons. First, it freed the men the demons were bothering. Second, since pigs were seen as not clean by Jewish laws, it made sense for the unclean spirits to go into them. Third, accepting it didn't change the fact that they would face judgment later on. Jesus allowing them into the pigs wasn't wrong. It's different from when Satan tried to tempt Jesus in the desert. If Jesus had listened to Satan then, he would have been disobeying God. But the demons' request didn't lead Jesus into doing anything wrong. The demons wanting to go into the pigs was actually okay with the Jews, who didn't like pigs much anyway. Jesus even mentioned not to waste good things on pigs before. And in another part of the Bible, it said that people who turn their backs on what's right are like pigs returning to mud. But where this happened, near the Sea of Galilee, was where non-Jews lived, and those pigs were probably being raised to be sold. Losing so many pigs was a big deal for their owners. The demons choosing the pigs shows they always want to cause trouble and make people upset with Jesus. This fits into the bigger battle Jesus was fighting against evil forces. After Jesus made the demons leave the men and go into the pigs, causing the pigs to run off a cliff and drown, the people living there, who weren't Jews, asked Jesus to leave. This reaction is surprising because you'd think they'd be happy to see such a big win over evil spirits. But, like many have said over time, it seems people often choose things over Jesus. Jesus didn't destroy the demons right then. He let things unfold in the world as they will until everything gets sorted out in the end. While Matthew doesn't say what happened next, Mark and Luke tell us that the man who used to be troubled by demons wanted to go with Jesus. But Jesus told him to go back home and share how much God has helped him. Jesus wanted him to spread the word in his own town, kind of like how Jesus' close followers would bring people to God. The story also shows us what the local people valued more: their pigs over humans, and their animals over Jesus himself. This sad choice highlights a big problem with human nature. Jesus did an amazing thing by getting rid of the demons, but when the locals heard about their pigs, they got upset with Jesus instead of being thankful. Their biggest problem was they were afraid of losing money and business. They cared more about making money than getting better spiritually. When Jesus came near their town, they actually asked him to go away. It's a mistake lots of us make too. We get too comfortable with the wrong things in our lives because we don't want to give up things we enjoy or money we might lose. But holding on to bad habits is really harmful. This story is really important because it shows Jesus didn't just come for Jewish people, he came for everyone, even those from different places. And it's not just Jewish people who didn't always welcome him. The story tells us that it's not about where someone comes from, but how they react to Jesus that matters. The Bible talks a lot about this struggle we all have, wanting things that aren't good for us while trying to follow God's way. Jesus said clearly in Matthew chapter 6, verses 19 to 24, that we can't chase after both God and money. He warned that loving money too much can pull us away from God. The story where the local people chose their pigs over Jesus is a classic example of choosing worldly things over doing what's right spiritually. Paul reminds us that in Romans chapter 12, verses 1 and 2, present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable to God, which is your reasonable service. And do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. Jesus at work reaching out to everyone, not just Jewish people, is a big deal in the New Testament. Ephesians chapter 2, verses 13, 17, and 18 talks about how Jesus brought all the people together, showing God's love. But now in Christ Jesus, you who once were far off have been brought near by the blood of Christ. And he came and preached peace to you who were afar off and to those who were near. For through him we both have access by one Spirit to the Father. In the Acts of the Apostles, the good news about Jesus starts spreading all over to all kinds of people. For instance, in Acts chapter 10, Peter realizes that God's message is meant for people from all backgrounds, not just a select group. This tells us that Jesus invites all of us to turn away from the wrong path and come back to God. So, the story about the people from Gadarenes teaches us an important lesson in Christianity. Everyone can find God's truth and be saved. The real problem is that people often don't want to stop sinning and start following Jesus. This idea makes us think about our own lives, what we think is important. Who do we choose to be loyal to? We should try to live more like Jesus taught us. Leave your thoughts below and hit that subscribe button. Check out more videos if you're interested. God bless you.